Decalcomania time again. I'll show you today the two main techniques. Hello Jelly fans! As so many of you seem to be interested in decalcomania, I am dealing with the two main techniques of it today, the waves and the roots. I will print some flowers on the gel plate and then add a background with decalcomania directly on the paper. But first let me show you how to achieve the two different effects. I am using my favorite acrylics, the Golden Open Slow Drying Paint, but you can use any acrylics and just water them down, as you have to do that anyway. Just repeat this test for your own, to get a feeling of how diluted the paint has to be. This is a painting paper that was originally made for school, and that is the reason for it being very cheap. It resists wetness a little and therefore is great for decalcomania. Thank you for that tip, Gerda. It comes in a roll of 1 meter by 10 meters, so you can cut it down to any size. So first I'm testing the paper by making some waves with my watered down black paint. You actually don't need the gel plate for this, you can do it on glass or plexiglass. The watered down paint does what it usually does on the gel plate. It shrivels and dwindles, but that doesn't matter here. The back side of the paper is blue, I don't know why actually. I am doing the waves technique here. This is just to test if this paper works. I will show it in detail just after this. But you can see how I do the waves. Going back and forth with the paper and going sideways from the back side with my fingers. I quite like the look of this. The paper shows it's not absorbing the paint so fast, and that's what I need. I dab away the wet parts, which I like to do often, and I like the result. Almost inspires me to work this into a landscape. But now I want to do the technique testing. I am doing the test on that same paper and build the effect with a sheet of transparent Duralar or overhead projector foil. The mixture I have on the right side is very diluted, maybe about 1 part paint to 2 parts water. I'm spreading this out, and as this is also a transparent color, it looks very light and pale. I place the transparent sheet on it, move the paint around just a little bit and take the sheet off in one short movement. You should take care that you start from the top, as this looks more natural. This is what I call the roots technique, though here it looks more like tube-like shapes of some kind. The finer shapes inside look like roots to me, that's why I call them that. This is after it has dried a little and I do my dabbing away, works fine again. Now, using the same light mixture, I brush on some paint again and do the waves, bringing it real close and slowing it down for you to see. Put on the transparent sheet, move the paint around to even it a little, then starting from the top, lifting it up just a little, and then making this finger movement steadily pressing down from one side to the other. Then lifting up again, going sideways with the fingers and so on. Doesn't matter if the foil falls back down again accidentally, it doesn't affect the pattern much. But you can see here that the technique didn't really work here, and I think it's due to the high amount of water. But that's why I do those tests. I'm cleaning the sheet. You have to do that because otherwise it will stick and you can't get it off later. And then I'm making a new mixture with maybe 2 parts paint and 1 part water, or maybe 1 to 1, I'm not sure. As I said, you have to try it for yourself. I'm actually a little afraid that this mixture might be a little too thick to have an effect, but here we go. putting down the sheet again, moving the paint around, and then lifting it off in short movements. You can go back and try again if you don't like what you see. This is what is so nice about the roots technique. It's like a landscape already finished, with all complete with bushes and undergrowth. But here I come in again and ruining it completely. Well, that's also a good test. How not to do it. I spray on some water and then do it again, and look at that. I can reactivate it, and now it's like a little mixture of waves and roots. Very interesting. And I go in again and make some shapes that go sideways. You can lift from the left or from the right, and you have sideways patterns. Now I'm brushing on that thicker mixture to do the wavy technique. Lifting up, going sideways with your fingertips. Lifting up, going sideways, and so on, and again. And here I obviously lift it up quickly, and I'm adding roots to that by doing that. A classy happy accident. The vertical lines you see here are just a reflection from my ring light. Now a little recap. As it seems, the very transparent mixture gives me some nice root tubes, but the waves didn't really work. And if you add more paint to the solution, you can get exciting mountains and bushes and everything with the root technique. And the wavy technique works wonderfully. I'm so vain. Believe me, I am actually not. I just love what the paint gives me without me doing almost anything, I have a feeling. But for now, let's put the technique aside and have some fun. As I said, I want to print some flowers on my gel plate now. And after that, I will add some backgrounds with Decalcomania waves and roots. I'm only brayering out the area that I definitely need. This is a magnolia blossom from my garden. It hurt me to cut it off, being in full bloom. And I need a little longer stick here from another magnolia. And some leaves fell off, so I'm adding them. It's a little fiddly to press down the petals so that I can print all of them. And I'm taking the surrounding paint with the Deli paper, and I love, love, love that Butterbrotpapier, because I can see what I'm doing and where I've been with my fingers before. That's very rewarding in a way. And when I'm taking the Deli paper off, I can see that there's still a lot of paint there. And it gave me nice patterns, but I want to get rid of it because I want to have the Decalcomania background here. So I'm coming in with a baby wipe, and that works perfectly to get the rest of the color off. And note that usually I'm very meticulous about this because when you see the smear of the baby wipe and the paint, it doesn't look very nice. But in this case, it doesn't really matter because I'm going to do something with the background anyway. So I'm taking the stem and the petals off, and I have to come in with tweezers to pick up those little semen, I forgot what they were called. And I'm pulling the print. But I'm happy I remembered the word tweezers, because I usually say scissors. I've never printed on that paper before, except my German English is scissors. I let it sink in a little bit and then reveal it. It looks very, very nice. Actually, the magnolia looks more interesting than I expected it to. So for the next print, I'm taking a daffodil. And this was the last of my daffodils this spring, and I had to sacrifice it too for art. And yeah, I'm printing that with a phtalo blue of the Golden Open series too. And taking the excess paint with a Deli paper again. It's a little complicated because the daffodil is so thick and I really wanted to stay in place. This is also something you can see through the Deli paper if the flower is laying right. So same, taking the rest off with a baby wipe. And again, you don't have to do that too thoroughly. Yeah, that looks promising. I'm just straightening the edges of the petals a little bit. And I'm taking that print with school paper again, rubbing it evenly on the back and let it sinking for a minute or so. And another good print. Very nice. And again, it's not so bad that there is a little smearing going on in the background, because now we start to build the Decalcomania backgrounds. I'm taking the transparent red iron oxide. I don't know, maybe I should use abbreviations or so. It's just these 4-word paint names are just getting to me. Yeah, and I'm mixing it with paint, like something like 1:1, I would estimate. And I'm painting it around my magnolia print and seeing to it that it's quite thick. That layer is quite thick. With the golden open and also the added water, this stays dry for quite a while. And also because that school paper is really good for this. And near the petals, I don't want to be too thick with the paint, because it would probably, if I press down the foil, it would probably go over the petals, and I don't want that. Now let me give you a tip if you are using regular acrylics. If you don't want it too wet and transparent and light, use a retarder for your acrylics. Almost every paint company has them. And if you don't want to buy a retarder, which is not cheap again, you can use just regular wallpaper paste. So when my red layer is still wet and thick enough, I'm coming in with that transparent Duralar sheet again. And I'm doing a little more like the roots technique now, pulling it up swiftly. And down here I want to do some waves, but somehow the paint doesn't want to do waves here. So I get roots again, which is fine. Yeah, everything is still wet, so I can try again. Same. It wants to have roots, not waves. And that is strange. Well, okay, it's working a little bit better here. Obviously, it made a difference that I sprayed a little bit of water on. Still trying. Okay, I'll leave it like this. No, I'm not gonna leave it like this. No. I'm impatient today and I'm drying this with my hairdryer. Put it on cold. That's better for the paint and the paper. Dabbing away a little bit of the wetness, but only in like 2 or 3 places. And I have to say, this paper is so gorgeous. It doesn't buckle a bit from all this wetness. And I really like the outcome. But the paper still has to stand for trial for the working out with the pencils, but that's a little later. I want to have a black background for the blue daffodil. Paint water 1-on-1. Again, spreading that paint with a brush rather thickly, but avoiding the thickness near the petals. And I don't mind if there is like a white gap between the petals and the background. That's even more arty. And by the way, I have a growing playlist of Decalcomania videos by now because I just can't stop doing this fascinating technique. So here's the link if you want to see my other Decalcomania videos. So starting with the work with the transparent sheet, I'm trying the wave technique now. Actually, the first row or the first wave is a little bit more roots. And I like that, and I'll leave it because it's nice as a beginning on the top. I mean, if you know what I mean. I'm a little annoyed by all these reflections I always have. So sorry, but you'll see a photo of this outcome later. And also here the wave techniques mingled with root effect, and I don't mind. And here you can see that if you use a baby wipe, you can still take that paint off. And that is definitely something that has to do with the paper. I can't stop marveling at this paper. For this technique is just so perfect. And I really recommend drying this with a hairdryer right after you did this, because the longer it stays wet on the paper, the more it will lose its shape. I have a few areas here that I don't like much because obviously the paint on the paper sunk in too much when I did the technique. So I'm putting on some more paint. It's a little too wet, but yeah, it's too wet. So I'm repeating this with a little thicker paint. I'm working on it sideways. And again, I'm getting a mixture of wavy and rooty textures, which I like a lot. And I'm taking that paint off the stem with a baby wipe again. And this is how it came out, and I think it's fantastic. It's a wonderful print, and if you don't mind praising myself. And I'm starting to work out this one with pencils, and also in the areas where the acrylic paint is, it's working very well. In areas where there's almost no paint, it doesn't work so well on the paper. Like this here, I can almost not get rid of it. I'll speed the working out up a little bit so that the video doesn't get so long. I'm also working with fineliner here. Look at this daffodil, how it looks now. I just love that. I'm going to press it and use it in a collage. And I'm looking at the original more closely to see better where I have to add some lines where the paint didn't really stick. Yeah, that area in the middle is, there is no paint, and so it's better to do this here with a fine liner, as the pencil doesn't work so good on the plain paper, as I said before. I guess I could just paint the inner blossom with yellow as in the original. Then I'd have acrylics to work on with the pencils, but I don't want that. I don't want so many colors in this one. Well, I'm more the monochrome type person. I'm getting stuck in the hatching here, actually, and I might have overworked this one. It's really up to you how much you want to work out. And I was surprised when I tried the erasing. It's obviously also possible to erase acrylic paint on that paper. So I made some white spots and turned them into water drops. Amazing paper, really. Adding my white liner jelly pen for the highlights of the water drops. To the background, I'm not adding so much workout. After all, the daffodil is the center of attention, and so I don't want to have too many contrasts outside the flower. But some parts are just so beautiful. These look like waterfalls. An idea for a landscape, maybe. And that's it. I'm not doing more to it. The contrasts are really nice. And yeah, I love how this painting turned out. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. And I'm starting with the second one here. It was very good that I made the stem a little longer. And I'm deciding that I want to employ the fine liner too in this one. It's really nice how the magnolia petals came out. They have a lot more texture than I thought. And this is a pencil that goes well with that transparent red iron oxide. It's called ruddle, that color. Also a Polychromos color. But again, with the background, I'm not doing that much. At this point, I want to thank you for all your lovely comments that you always give me. I'm always quite happy for your opinions and your praise, of course. But I really want to stress here that this is sped up so much that you get the impression that I'm never hesitating and doing all this like a pro, like really fast, and that, let me assure you, is not the case. I'm actually thinking about a lot of the things I do here and hesitate a lot. I'm adding a little shadow here with the ruddle color. You can also use red chalk, by the way. Maybe that works on that paper even better, I'm not sure. So this one is finished too. I hope I could bring you nearer the two main techniques of the Decalcomania, or the two techniques I know of and that I'm good at. Maybe there's even more, and I'll surely try and find out in the future. So I hope you have some fun trying something like this too. And I'll see you next week. Bye!